So here is our coconut oil. And to make this extra clear, I would be using extra virgin coconut oil, but we're not going to use extra virgin coconut oil because this does not have to be perfectly clear, because we are just using it in primarily our sugar whip scrubs. And what it does in my sugar whip scrubs is it makes it extremely bubbly. So you get a lot for your money's worth and a lot of bubbles. Because I feel like bubbles are life when it comes to soap. So if you're familiar with anything that has to do with soap making, you'll know that coconut oil is one of the most bubbly things that you can add to even cold processed soap. And you're gonna actually be seeing me add sugar to this recipe, I know. Oh my goodness, sugar to the recipe. This is a soap. What is going on? I know, I get it. The first time I heard that this recipe called for sugar, I was completely shook. It's not something that you expect to see in a soap. Okay, so the next ingredient we are going to be adding is stearic acid. Those of you that have purchased my magnesium lotion and other products know that I utilize stearic acid quite often. Stearic acid is amazing for the skin. It actually helps to hold in and retain moisture in the skin, so it's a very necessary ingredient. Every single ingredient that I ever have used in my products has a purpose. So there's no filler type ingredients in any of my products. I don't believe in that kind of thing. I feel like that was something that started to increase profit margins, and I am more about people over profit when it comes to ingredients. So this is very important to me when it comes to everything that I do. It has to be a very nutritional body care product, if that makes sense. Stearic acid is just one of those very soothing ingredients when you're pouring it in. I could do some ASMR. Let me know in the comments if you'd like some soap making ASMR. So here's what I'm going to do first. This saves me containers from cleaning out a bunch of containers. I still have to clean out quite a few containers, but I'm going to add the stearic acid and the coconut oil together and go ahead and start melting this. I actually melt it very gently so it doesn't get too hot, but it's gonna get up there. The temperatures, this recipe is all about temperature perfection. This is why it takes so long, so many times of screwing it up to perfect this recipe. So I'm gonna melt this down very gently. And now we're gonna go in and use the isopropyl alcohol. This is 99%. That's what I prefer. It evaporates quicker. And of course, I have to be super difficult in making something so simple like a sugar scrub and go all out. And that is one of the things that I prefer to do, just because I know exactly what's in my products when I make everything from scratch. I feel better about that, and I know exactly what I'm getting, and I know exactly what I'm giving to my customers. So that's always been something that I've done in all of my products. And now we're gonna add some distilled water. So important to be precise on the measurements on this recipe, just simply because it's like baking a cake when it comes to soap. You don't want to have a dense cake, and I tried my crack at baking many moons ago and quickly realized that was not my forte, and it was primarily because I like to go intuitively with a lot of things. But soap making is not quite like that, because you are basically baking a cake when it comes to soap making, because you are combining all these ingredients. And so you have your eggs, your milk, your flour, and at the end of it, you don't really have eggs, milk, or flour. You have this completely different thing. And soap making is very much like that, in the sense that you're mixing all of these ingredients together, and it no longer is oils or lye, or in this case sugar and glycerin and other things. It's basically a salt. So that's the neat thing about chemistry and ingredients, and the alchemy behind soap making is just so fascinating. And I feel like one day I will share some basic soap recipes. But you know, as someone that Googles often, you can find soap recipes anywhere. But here's the thing is, like, you're gonna have so much more fun discovering, and you're gonna appreciate things so much more when you go and research and do all the things for yourself, versus just kind of piggybacking off of what someone else is doing. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with piggybacking off of someone else's idea, because that's how amazing things form, right? Can you imagine if everybody just kind of like stayed in their lane and never copied anybody else, right? Kind of like, you know, rockets, right? If NASA was the only one to ever build rockets, you know, where would we be, right? That's where monopolies are created and such. I don't know, I'm kind of going on a tangent here. But I think my RuPaul said it best, I feel. He said, I was watching one of his master classes one time, and he's like, you know, if you don't know exactly what to do, just copy what someone else is doing, and you'll eventually figure it out. I over poured the glycerin. So this is the glycerin. Look at how beautiful that stuff is. So glycerin is one of my absolute favorite humectants. It's very sugary. You can actually make tinctures with glycerin too. So this is actually food grade glycerin that I use. I prefer it that way. It's vegetable glycerin, in case you're wondering. I do use animal products. That is just my preference. If it's not yours, that's okay as well. Okay, now we're gonna add in our cocoa betaine. Cocoa betaine is one of the coolest ingredients ever. It's a coconut surfactant, so it's very bubbly and fun. And this is, you can actually buy a clearer version of this, but again, since we're using this in sugar scrubs, it don't matter, just simply because it doesn't have to be super duper clear. If I was going for like a super extra clear soap, I would buy just a little bit of a different version of this stuff. It's way more expensive to buy the clear one, kind of like jojoba oil. Jojoba oil comes in clear as well, but it's like twice as expensive and not necessary, right? Unless you're doing like perfume bottles and you want it to be clear instead of yellow. So this is the coconut oil and the stearic acid that we melted down. See how had it in there for a few minutes. We want to keep it hot. We're going for about 90 degrees Celsius. We're at about 102. And that's it. It's all about the heat when it comes to recipes. You got to use the heat in your favor, and if it's too hot or too cold, everything's gonna go to crap. That is just the reality that I have discovered in my soap making journey. It's just kind of like cold processed soap. Cold processed soap, you kind of want it to be hot sometimes when you have it go through this phase called gel phase. And that will help to cook it, a little bit better and make it soak faster. So like what I'll do is I'll often put my cold process soap in the oven so that it can kind of just like do its thing, and it makes a really hard bar. So yes, a little bit about soap making there. This one is sodium lactate. So sodium lactate is really amazing stuff. It is just a liquid salt. So don't ever be fooled by something with a long name or a chemical compounding name. Everything is a chemical. So don't be afraid of something just because you can't pronounce it. Just learn how to pronounce it. Not that sodium lactate is hard, but I think that sometimes people get afraid when they see these long names, and that's the reality. Is even plants have very long names. It doesn't mean that they're dangerous. But fun fact, not so fun fact, a lot of plants are actually dangerous that you shouldn't eat or be near, right? So that doesn't, I just feel like sometimes there are so many misconceptions about like, oh, because I can't pronounce this list of long names, I probably shouldn't eat it. I feel like that is such a fallacy, and I feel like we need to look more in detail into what we're putting in our bodies, and of course make sure that it's good for our bodies and that it works well with our bodies, because not everything synthetic is bad. And not everything natural is good. That's one of the things that I always say in my lives. I just figured I'd reiterate it here because there's no need to be afraid of something unless it screws with your body. So things that screw with your body are phthalates, parabens, and formaldehyde. The reason I make my own transparent soap is because a lot of it comes with other things that interfere with our bodies, such as propylene glycol. I'm not a fan. If you are, that's fine. I feel like it's too much of a skin irritant and it's not necessary to use. So if I can leave it out, then I'll do it. And it's pretty easy to leave out. It just costs more and takes a little bit more time out of your day. But I would rather do that any day than potentially harm someone's skin. Okay, so we're gonna add in our sugar. And we're gonna do quite a bit of it. It's actually a lot of sugar in this recipe. Now, this is gonna be a sugar water solution. This is pretty cool, and it has to reach boiling point. I figured this out after many moons of trying to figure out how not to burn this. It just has to reach exactly boiling point. So we're gonna put this in the microwave so that it basically reaches boiling point, and then it turns into a very clear mixture. So this is just some distilled water. Now in bath and body products, I always recommend using distilled or deionized water. Until I get it deionized, I'm going to be using distilled water. I would distill my own, but apparently it is a very long process. I've looked into it. So I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. So eventually, deionized I think is the way to go. that's the less expensive option as well. So I'm gonna stir this in a little bit so that way our sugar doesn't just kind of hang out on the bottom. I hope everybody's having a good day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's entertaining. If you have some constructive feedback, please leave it in the comments. I'm always open for ideas of things that, you know, I could make for you guys on video or what have you. I'll be going live over here as well, so that way we can do like Q&As. So we're gonna heat this up. I found in the microwave it takes about 8 or so minutes for that to reach boiling point. So while that's going, we're gonna do our mixing of all these oils and stuff. And forgive me if I can't talk because some stuff gets really hot. So that's about the right temperature. I might even, are we sticking to the sides? Yeah, so when it starts to cool, believe it or not, things cool very quickly sometimes, quicker than you can get to them. And for purpose of the fact that this is a clear soap, I'm gonna be using clear bowls and stuff, but you know, use metal or whatever you want to if you ever decide to make something like this. You don't have to use clear stuff. Okay, so we're gonna add in the lye into the water. That way that can heat up and do its thing. We're kind of using the heat of the lye and the reaction in our favor to kind of help cook this soap really fast. The beauty of transparent soap is that it's ready to use in a couple hours. It's phenomenal. So even though this contains lye, you don't have to set it aside and do the whole thing or you gotta wait 4 weeks. I'm impatient. I don't like doing that. So this is what I love about doing lotions and transparent soap is everything's there and ready right away, which is awesome. Okay, so we're gonna get our bigger container. Here she is, fresh out of the sanitizer. And again, we're just doing the clear stuff. That way you can see everything much better on the video. So this is the isopropyl alcohol. We're gonna mix her in. I actually made this earlier and I realized that I didn't do my SD card correctly in my camera. So it stopped about halfway through. So this is my second time tonight making this recipe, which is fine because now we got the commentary. So that's all right. Okay, so the isopropyl, we're mixing until frothing. And now we're going to add our lye solution. Remember that lye. And I am right-handed, so this left whisking, just so, because you guys are on my left, I want you to be able to see things, right? It's amazing how this turns into like a slushy so fast. Watch it. This is a fun little chemical reaction that happens and then it just kind of like stops. So like the snow, you know, when it gets to that slushy mode, now we're gonna, oh, here we go, here's the slushies. And this will eventually just calm down. Happens every time and I'm always like, oh no, am I gonna be able to stir it? Are we just gonna have slush? It's anybody's game at this point, and then sometimes I'll just like let it sit here for a minute so it can just kind of figure out what it's doing, because it's like, okay, hang on, are we melting? Are we melting? Are we staying slushy? What's happening? And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my email communication to get notified of new releases and also restocks in the shop. mollybubbles.com is of course my website. It's one thing that I've found in the past 6 years of doing business that sometimes people have a hard time finding websites, and I will just give you a tip. Everyone's website is in their bio all the time. If they are selling any products, it's always in their bio. But now that I have a real longer video, I will actually link everything in my description box. But yeah, all the information is always in the bio. All right, see how quickly that loosened up? Always gives me a little bit of trouble there, and then it's like, oh, no, just kidding, you're fine. Okay, so we gotta check on our sugar water mixture. This is gonna like hang out. So we're gonna add the glycerin, the cocoa betaine, and also the sodium lactate to this in just 1 minute. But we gotta do the sugar water first. This is why I always have my cheat sheet next to me, because I forget sometimes the order of things, so I have to line it all up. Like I said, it's one of the most complicated recipes that I've ever done. It's taken me a while to perfect it. I've made some additions to it, some adjustments to make it work better for me. All right, remember that sugar water. So it has to be perfectly clear. That way we know everything is mixed in. That's where you can really screw things up here, which we don't want to do. So this needs just about a few more minutes because it was a bubbling. And I will show you in Fahrenheit how hot this is. Hello, turn on. There we go. So it's at 181 right now. 181, 179-ish. Come on, get in focus. Okay, so we're almost to boiling point, and then you'll see when it gets to boiling point, as soon as it gets there, that's when this turns clear, and that's when we can add it to our mixture. And I thought about, because we want to kind of cancel out some of this yellow, I prefer my soap to be, you know, as clear as possible. And if I can't get it clear, I'll just add some pink to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of glycerin color into it. But to cancel out the yellow, we're going to add some purple. And then sometimes, depending on what stage this is in, there. Camera quit for a second. That's okay. We're back. Switching out the SD cards. My sugar, of course, did overheat a little bit. So that's why it's a little bit yellow. It's not too bad, though. But we added some purple just to cancel that out. I figure, you know what? I have the SD cards in the wrong area, I think. Oh well. All right, so we're heating up our stearic acid, coconut, and alcohol solution, and then we're gonna add in our sugar water just to make sure. Look at, it's already trying to turn into soap. See my little skin on there? We're at 150. That's perfect. Okay. We're going to transfer to the bigger container. Then we're going to add in the sugar water. Da-da-da. Always wear gloves and eyewear when you're dealing with hot liquids or potentially caustic. Just like how the sugar water and everything's mixing together, so you just want to be careful, protect your eyes and your whatever else you want to protect. Like I said, this is not a tutorial. This is more or less just showing you how I make things so that you can understand what goes into my products. I prefer a lot of transparency when it comes to my products. So, pun intended, since we are making transparent soap. So again, this is coconut oil, stearic acid, and isopropyl alcohol, lye, and of course water to kind of activate the lye, right? And then our sugar water solution. So pretty simple so far, right? Very clean ingredients that you would feel okay putting on your body. Nothing that's going to interfere with your hormones or any sort of carcinogens. That's what I stay away from. That's what's really important to me, and I assume that if I have customers that they're going to feel the same way. All right. Now we are going to add in our glycerin. This is our beautiful glycerin. Like I said, glycerin is one of my favorite humectants. Hyaluronic acid and honey are my other two favorites. Hyaluronic acid over most, only because I love that hyaluronic acid is present in all of our tissues. So it was originally discovered in the eyes. So yeah, you have hyaluronic acid floating around in your eyes. It's also present in our lungs and in our hearts. So it's something that naturally you have in your body. So that's why I feel like it works so well with our bodies. Of course, as we age, we kind of dry out. And so we need all the help we can get. And hyaluronic acid has always been there for me. Love me some hyaluronic acid. So look how beautiful and clear it is. I probably added way too much purple, but that was one drop of purple, but I'm used to like tripling this batch. This is only like a double batch. All right, so there's our glycerin added, and then we're gonna add some more bubblies. This is cocoa betaine, coconut surfactant. And then we're going to add in our sodium lactate. That's the last step. Sodium lactate is a liquid salt. It's going to help it harden. Makes for a bubbly bar. It's also something people use in cold process soap to unmold their soap easier. It's nothing to be afraid of. Like I said, it's a liquid salt. Salt is good for you. And there we have it. Now we're ready to pour. I broke out my acrylic mold just for you guys. You should feel special. In honor of my first real YouTube video, I should say. Not a repost. It's so easy to just repost content across platforms, and I feel like all of us do it. All of us content creators do it because you gotta run your business too. You can't spend all your time making content. And for me, I go live all the time. And I was like, I work 8 hours or more. And then I go live for at least 4 to 5, sometimes longer. I can't keep doing this because I'm just crashing out, So this is kind of gonna be my sort of replacement for doing lives for so long, because I just physically cannot do it, you guys. I don't know anybody that goes live for that many hours because it is exhausting. And normally I do it to, of course, sell my products, gain new customers. It seems like that's the only way that I can get seen on TikTok, that's for sure. And then I realized I'm working harder and not smarter. So here we go. So all these little bubbles are gonna start to float to the surface. We're gonna cover this up and put it in the refrigerator. Okay, everyone, we are back. so I decided to unmold the most recent, well, the one that I made earlier, because it's ready. All right, let's have a look-see. This is one that I made earlier. Okay. Nature's, whatchamacallit, oh, I forget the name. Nurture soap, that's what they are. This one is a brambleberry one. They quit making this one actually. I was gonna get another one because I like the size of the bars. Then I realized those little purple ones that you can buy off Amazon are the exact same size as this one, as far as like width and everything. I enjoy the width of like 2.5 inches versus 3, just because it's easier to hold in your hand. So that's what this is about 2.5 inches wide. So hopefully this is all set up. I just like pushed on the top and I was like, oh, it's ready. So then we can finish this video tonight. So yay. So I kind of did the same thing with this one, where I added a little bit of purple to the soap to counteract some of the yellow, because I just feel like it's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So let's go ahead and cut into this baby. Isn't she beautiful? Oh. So this is definitely not your regular transparent soap, your regular melt and pour. Like I said, this is made with the glycerin, the sugar, mostly glycerin. This is a really heavy glycerin recipe. You can't actually cut into regular melt and pour with a wire cutter. It's too hard. But this recipe is almost like jelly-like. So I don't know if you can see it moving there. It's not super solid. So again, this is what I use in my sugar scrubs. Why do I do that? Well, it's primarily because it's super bubbly, which I'll have to put a demo right after this video, but look how clear that is. Let me grab one of my Hydromag Silk Peach Taffy Lotions. This one just came out not too long ago. But look, you can even read right through it. I love doing that because it just shows how transparent it is. But isn't it cool? Pretty neat stuff.
Barbecues are sacred sign. Neighbors come from miles around. Chit-chat through that sizzling sound. From brisket, slow cooked, rich and fine. We share our hearts one bite at a time. Neighbors come from miles around. Chit-chat through that sizzling sound. From brisket, slow cooked, rich and fine. We share our hearts one bite at a time. In the barbecue.
But yeah, we're gonna let that alcohol dissipate out of the soap, and then this will be ready to make some sugar scrubs. So yeah, fun little ice cubes. Healthy soap. That's my way. I can't do it any other way, no matter what. I even thought about making or buying some melt and pour one time, and I was like, I just don't want to go back to that. Like, I just don't. Once you've gone this far in your learning process to make everything better for your customers, it's so difficult to go back. And I could save so much money and time if I just bought this. But health is everything. Health is very important to me. And especially when it comes to your skin is your barrier. We've got to take good care of the biome. So this is one of the best ways that I found, is making everything from scratch. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one. Love you guys. Bye.